Lawler, Tina Marie Lawler. I live at 349 Millport Street. I just want to thank you all for giving us this opportunity, and I just want to start off with, I think somehow the primary issue has become a bit twisted and convoluted. In order to fit into a category that which some opposing truth and balance in education refer to as censorship, let me be clear. We have never alluded to anything resembling censorship or book burning. It is or book banning. It is silliness to think that seeking that which the state describes as an accurate portrayal of religions is anything less than a standard we would all fully support. We should all agree, truth, more information, and more knowledge is not only educationally beneficial, but is the optimal solution to misinformation, half-truths, and bias, that which is prevalent in the textbooks in question. We are not seeking to censor, but rather to enhance with truth, facts, and equity. In a letter you received from Washington, D.C. group yesterday, far removed from an accurate understanding of our original challenge, and also from the proximity of our local citizens of Charlotte County, Florida, it states that, quote, history is an evolving discipline that is inherently contentious. I would argue that history in and of itself is incapable of evolving, as only the human perceptions of history may evolve, but even so, history remains unchangeable. The best education comes when we fairly, accurately, and indiscriminately provide only the most precise and truthful facts to our children to foster their own critical thinking skills. Anything less may lead to a deep mistrust of the methodology, and it ultimately subverts the educational process. Florida standards dictate that students be able to distinguish the differences between Islam, Judaism, and Christianity, not confuse them or consider one better than others. The citations were meant to be used in the overall discussion of bias, and instead the district chose to isolate the citations away from the true purpose of our challenge. Muslims profess faith in the same God as that worshipped by Jews and Christians was intended to be one example of a statement that makes a claim with no further clarity from the Christian or Jewish perspectives. Nowhere in either textbook is any rebuttal or clarification made that Christians or Jews do not believe in this false profession of Muslims. This claim is obviously not accurate nor objective, as it invokes the names of other religions, yet the district takes the position that is inaccurate and objective enough. The leading committee spokesperson, I'm quoting now, said, "I could profess to believe that the sun isn't going to rise tomorrow. It doesn't make it accurate, but if I profess it, it's my claim. I could profess anything, and it doesn't make it accurate." So on that, the district committee voted 8-2 that a claim invoking Christianity and Judaism to support a false premise was entirely acceptable. It was further stated that it only really mattered how the material is actually used in the classroom. When children are asked what they learn in class, they say it's the same God. Christians and Jews do not agree that Muslims believe in or worship the same God, even if Muslims believe it to be so. This is in direct opposition to our Florida Sunshine Standards. I'm out of time, but I just want to say that based on these items, this is why you must reject the committee's recommendation and replace or supplement these books. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Lawler. The next speaker is David Myers, to be followed by Lindsay Harrington.
Good evening. My name is David Myers, 14276 River Beach Drive. I'm here tonight to show my support for the challenge to the textbooks. It's my hope that we are all here for the same reason, our children and the truth. In fact, Florida state laws, as you all should know, and I hope you do know, requires, it's a law, that the books in our schools be accurate and truthful. The fact that a book is on the state approved list is irrelevant. Those people up there can make mistakes too, as we all know. I'd like to first say that I reject the idea that the committee was not stacked. The policy used ensured that the committee was stacked. How many organizations would you trust to investigate themselves? Yet this is what happened. Yes, there were a few members on the committee that were from the community that were added, but their impact was negligible because of the, quote, educators and the people who are all ready to be on the committee by the policy. I got a second point about the Allah and the God of the Christians issue, and somebody asked me this the other day. If Allah and the God of the Christians are the same, then why do we have an Allah? The fact is, Muhammad relied heavily on the Bible for his stories in the Quran, and they were mostly distorted. Quite a few of them, in fact. In the Quran, They actually tells the flood story several different ways with different outcomes and so forth. I have seen some of the emails from some of the board members and heard some comments personally that lead me to believe that the decision has already been made. I hope that you listen to the folks here tonight and will take into consideration the views of the community. We are not just an isolated group here of a few angry people. In fact, we're here because we have a righteous anger as Jesus did in the temple. We're not mad. We're not out of control. We have a righteous anger because we've seen the truth distorted here. If this meeting had been held in this country 40 or 50 years ago, anyone supporting the distortions and lies in the textbooks would probably be laughed out of the room. Our books were nothing like this. I was educated in South Carolina, not the best school systems in the world, but I did pretty good. And we had nothing like the history that you see in these books today. I cannot understand the overemphasis of Islam in the books. I do understand it, but we won't go into that right now. Finally, this challenge was not just, as Ms. Lawler pointed out, about 7 little items in there. There is, in fact, the bias runs all through the book.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Your time is up.
For Islam and not Christianity. Thank you.
Thank you for your input. Mr. Harrington, to be followed by Jerry Risley.
Lindsay Harrington, 315 West Gray Street, Punta Gorda. We have a Republican form of government. You're elected to represent the people. You depend a lot, as I have in the past as elected official. We depend a lot upon our staff. We depend a lot upon our committees who go and do the research for us. And a lot of times, in my past experience, you've got to look at the staff and say, go back and do your homework. Go back and take a look at what you've done. We're relying upon you to do that this evening, to make that decision, regardless of what has been approved in Tallahassee. I feel like your mind's already been made up, and I think it's unfair to us who here are people that you represent. And you need to represent us in your decisions today. I'm not a scholar of religions, but I feel the book that I reviewed did not do justice to depicting Christianity. I'd also say that it didn't include other religions if you're going to end up doing that. I felt that in the book that I reviewed, there was 20-some pages in one chapter that dealt with Islam from a period of 600 to 1200 BC, AD. Another part had one paragraph on Judaism, and on Christianity, 1.2 pages. Just unfair. It's unbiased. It's biased, plainly biased. And so I also feel that a lot of things that have been said in the books it's incorrect. And I also believe that they're violating the establishment of religions. And I'd like to read you something that was provided to me. It said that it's a statement about the establishment of religion. The ultimate test of the constitutionality of any course of instruction founded upon a religious text must depend upon classroom performance. It is that which is taught in the classroom renders a course so found constitutionally permissible or impermissible. If that which is taught seeks either to disparage or to encourage a commitment to a set of religious beliefs, it is constitutionally impermissible in a public school setting. If that which is taught avoids such a religious instruction and is confined to objective and non-devotional instruction in literature, history, and social customs, no constitutional barrier would arise to such classroom instruction. I just believe that the books that you're being asked to approve, or the book that I read that will be approved today, is incorrect and does violate the establishment of religion. And if you do this, you will be committing dawah. And in Islam, dawah is an instruction from Muhammad to go out and instruct the community on Islam. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harrington. Mr. Risley is next, to be followed by Randy Osborne.
Yes, Jerry Risley, 2534 Rio Largo, Punta Gorda. Actually, I was really impressed to hear Dr. Stamos this evening. So I think I have nothing really to add to the book itself because I think it's said in a very good way. I would think that the school board, perhaps all of us in this room, would do well to understand Islam. It is amazing what's going on. I want to leave this little flyer here. The school board would like to see it. We had a speaker in our community several times. The fellow's name is Dak Dak. He lives in Venice. He's been giving talks around Islam. And it's pretty scary stuff. But anyway, I just advise everyone here, get in touch, read this. He's taking the Quran apart inside outside. He knows it inside outside. And so anyway, that's all I really want to say. And another thing off the subject a little bit. Today we were honored to hear Netanyahu give a speech today. And here's a man that's really concerned about the country itself, his country and our country.
Mr. Risley, it's